Hi guys, hope you're all well. So yeah, my name is Shikhar and I'm a product manager in Rakuten. And I'm really excited to be here and talk about AI in e-commerce. And thanks a lot to the Smart Nation team for giving me the opportunity. All right, so let's begin. So for a quick agenda, we'll be mainly talking about three main topics. First is how external global shocks affect customers' consumption of products and ads in real time. And also, we'll be talking about the explosion of generative AI use cases in e-commerce that you may have noticed already. We'll also talk a bit about how my company, Rakuten, plans to evolve its e-commerce ecosystem, given these two macro trends above. And then we'll finish off with an interesting poll that I have for you to understand how you guys feel about AI in your e-commerce experience. And as Emily mentioned, feel free to also ask me any questions through the chat as well. All right, let's begin. So the first thing I would like to do is to introduce Rakuten, where I work. So for those of you who might not know, Rakuten is a Japanese conglomerate. It's actually a collection of about 70 plus businesses, ranging from things like instant messaging with Rakuten Viber to video streaming like Rakuten Viki and Rakuten TV, to even just outright owning sports teams like Kobe Vassell, which is a football club in Japan, as well as Rakuten Monkeys, which is a baseball team. And also one of their main businesses globally is actually Rakuten Ichiba, which is an e-commerce platform that we'll be talking about more today. So that fits in with the e-commerce business. And also, I think it's important to note that over the last few years, the company has also been investing in and adopting AI technology organization-wide. And that's actually where I fit in. So I'm a product manager in the AI team at Rakuten. And one of the products that I manage is called Merchant AI. And the goal of Merchant AI is to provide insights and recommendations to Rakuten's e-commerce merchants or sellers about how their users are interacting with their store. So basically things like how merchants can, increase their awareness and attract more people to their store, how they can arouse interest from visitors, and how they can encourage maximum conversions as well. So the whole end-to-end e-commerce funnel, we're trying to provide insights to merchants. So just to give you a glimpse, by the way, of Rakuten's e-commerce marketplace, it's called Rakuten Ichiba. Ichiba means market in Japan, in Japanese. And this is how the Japanese do e-commerce. So as you can see, it's very colorful. It's very visual, very image-based. There's lots and lots of deals. And they sell everything from A to Z, right? And one thing that's interesting to note is that Ichiba is heavily image and visual based. So you can see here that the product descriptions are actually through the form of images. They're not really written in text too much, but it's, very visual and kind of in the form of images. And it's a huge marketplace. So there's about 50,000 e-commerce merchants selling goods over here. And there's over 360 million products listed on Ichiba. So it's one of Japan's biggest marketplaces, if not the biggest marketplace in Japan. And just for a bit of background on Merchant AI 2. So this product started in 2021, where we were just giving simple insights to merchants like their page visits are low or their conversions are low. Then in 2022, we started to develop recommendations for merchants around, okay, if your awareness is low, then what type of ads could you use for your items that can boost your awareness or boost your conversions? And then now in 2023, we're planning to improve the merchant experience even more and make merchants more productive and cut their costs by developing generative AI solutions. And that's what we're going to talk about more in this presentation today. I know it's a big buzzword, in the last few months, generative AI. So I promise to spend a lot of time to take you guys through some cool things in that space. So firstly, though, I think it's important to mention one of the reasons why we embarked on this journey of developing merchant AI solutions is because we noticed that external shocks around the world directly impact consumer behavior. like the demand for products and consumption of ads. So what do I mean by an external shock, right? By an external shock, I mean, say an event like the pandemic. So during the pandemic, I think everyone remembers the toilet paper example, right? Where the demand for toilet paper went through the roof. So I'm not going to mention that example again, but we also saw demand for other products rise up significantly. So one example is the demand for health and wellness products like vitamins. So you can see whenever a new, whenever the pandemic started and whenever a new strain came out, the demand for vitamins would increase, right? And this example was also observed in, home improvement products and essential goods like groceries. So that's an interesting thing to note, how shocks kind of affect demand in almost real time, right? Almost overnight, they can impact consumer demand. They also impact consumer consumption of ads. So when COVID first came out in Q1 2020, consumers preferred health and safety messaging from their brands, right? So they can kind of continue building trust with their brands. And brands reacted in that way, where they put out health and safety messaging. But as time went on, the percentage of kind of health and safety messaging reduced, and the messaging shifted to hope and support for healthcare workers because the population was tired of the pandemic, right? There was pandemic fatigue setting in. So it's also important to note, both from the product demand side of things as well as from the ad side of things, how these type of external shocks impact consumption and behavior from consumers. So pandemic isn't the only event. Recently, the Ukraine war, for example, which kind of worsened inflation, and it made people search for more store brand goods rather than, the expensive branded goods, right? So users were looking for cheaper alternatives. So we observed that too in product demand. And just for fun, by the way, here's the search volumes for toilet paper. So you can see over here, when the pandemic started, the search volumes, shooted up significantly, right? And what's also interesting for some reason is that just exactly 1 year before the pandemic in 2019, something caused the demand for toilet paper again to shoot up. So I'm not sure why that happened, but if anybody knows, then feel free to write it in the comments. Okay, so now we come to some of the interesting parts as well. So in addition to the volatility and, global shocks, the e-commerce market today is also going to be flooded by generative AI tools massively. So there's lots and lots of tools that are being rolled out at quite a high pace into e-commerce marketplaces. One of the cool examples that Amazon and eBay are actually working on is helping merchants turn 2D product images into 3D images and videos, right? So a merchant can upload a static image and it gets converted into 3D. And not only stops at images, but we can also generate product videos, product demos, that can kind of improve the customer experience and give customers more insight into the product. So these type of generative AI solutions are projected to cut the product image development and filming costs for merchants down significantly through these type of tools. So that's just one example. So another example is Shopify. So Shopify is helping merchants generate their product descriptions through just writing 2 or 3 keywords. So you can see here, you can just put 3-4 keywords, write what tone you want the description to be, in, whether it's playful, funny, product expert, and then AI will generate the entire description for merchants in seconds, right? So that again saves them a lot of time, a lot of effort. And for merchants that already have existing listings on their marketplaces, they can actually further improve and simplify their listings by using the same technique, right? Using a tone, so they can improve the listing and simplify it, and thereby encourage more and more conversions. So that's another cool example that Shopify is doing on its e-commerce platform. So another one, which I think is also interesting and has wider implications, is something like what Expedia is doing, where they are basically integrated ChatGPT into their offering. So now you can type what you want instead of clicking around and navigating the site, right? And I think this has Let's wait for the video to finish. So you can see how the e-commerce experience could soon, right, across the board, shift from click-based, where you had to navigate the site yourself, to something more conversational, where you can now, through voice or through typing, converse with a virtual AI assistant and really get more and more recommendations. And yeah, so it kind of it's altering your experience, and maybe it's making it more personal, feels more intimate when you're actually just talking to a virtual AI instead. So this is how e-commerce could change in the upcoming couple of years. Another thing I think for marketers is and for anyone actually is text to video, right? So a lot of these solutions are being developed and sold to e-commerce marketing teams, where you can develop videos for your products or ads for your products just by entering what you want, right? And it's as simple as entering a few keywords or entering the purpose of your video. And then almost instantly, you can generate multiple variations of different types of videos that you can then choose, right? And you can overlay different text and, music, and you can customize it heavily. So that's another, I think, cool thing that's coming up in the e-commerce space, or in the marketing space as well for marketing teams. So another one directly in e-commerce is Mercari. And this is similar to Expedia, where they're basically, again, using ChatGPT type of models to make your e-commerce experience more and more conversational. So again, instead of browsing and instead of navigating, you can almost have a virtual assistant that can recommend things to you in real time, right? And help you find new items, discover new items as well on the platform. So given these kind of volatility in the market through external shocks, as well as the new generative AI systems that are coming in, we can also try and talk about how Rakuten could evolve its e-commerce ecosystem as well. And just a disclaimer that these ideas that I'm going to present are just being explored. So this is not, there are no planned releases, and there's no actual, I'm not 100% saying that these ideas will come out, but these ideas are just being explored at the moment. So one thing that we studied that Walmart does is that Walmart scrapes data from other marketplaces like Google or Amazon to see what's in demand on those marketplaces. And then they recommend those high demand products in other marketplaces. And they recommend those items to merchants to bring them into Walmart so they can sell in Walmart too. And that helps merchants react to kind of volatility in the market. So demand for something is going up. Merchants are aware and they can bring it in to their stores. And it can also basically increase your market share, right? So if Amazon and Google are selling high demand items that are not available in Walmart, Walmart could bring that into their marketplace and grab some of that market share as well. So the recommendations are also personalized to a merchant's current shop theme. So it's not random. It's if a merchant is selling food, the algorithm wouldn't recommend shoes, right, for them to bring in. It will be consistent with the theme. And as you can see, you can also scrape external market data like the price over here that people are selling similar items on Amazon. You can also help merchants set up the listing by helping them source and price the products appropriately. So I think this is a neat thing that we noticed in our research that Walmart is doing to help merchants adapt to shocks and help them do better market research as well. So another thing that we can do, as I mentioned, because Rakuten Ichiba is so visual and image-based, another thing we could do is we could score listings based on the quality of images and the appeal of the images. And we can use multiple different type of, features or attributes to score these listings and images, like the keyword richness of titles and descriptions, or the number of pictures in a given listing and the quality of that image. And for the poorly scored listings, for the listings that had a low score, and if it's due to image quality, that low score, then we can even generate different variations of that image to give it better angles, better quality, better contextualization, and hope, and then test it to make sure that it's actually improving the sales of that particular listing. And we can embed this as a service to merchants to enable them to generate these variations with relative ease, right? No cost, no effort for them on their side. So another thing we could do is that we can build systems, recommendation systems to, deliver the right ad messaging to the right audience at the right time. So I know with the whole generative AI advent, recommendation systems now seem quite boring, but they're still, some of my most favorite machine learning problems to solve. And what we could do is, we can use the following attributes, like the RFM value of customer purchases, and other types of like purchase propensity, maybe their real-time online activity, like clicks and pages they're visiting, as well as a historical activity. We can use these type of features to train both supervised and unsupervised learning models to recognize the associations between customer traits and their content preferences, right? And once we've mapped out the customer preferences to content, we can scale that across to all customer segments and basically hyper-personalized ads. So merchants are getting the exact, right type of information and the right type of content delivered to them as per their needs and as per their kind of liking. So I think that's pretty much it. I know I went through it quite fast. I know everyone's having lunch, so now everyone has a whole hour to spare. So that brings me to the kind of end to my presentation. And what I thought would be interesting, because there's about 121 of you over here right now, I thought it would be interesting to finish off by asking you guys questions about your thoughts on AI entering your e-commerce experience, and see how everyone's perceptions are, whether they're comfortable, whether they're looking forward to it, whether they're scared. I think it'll be very interesting to see how Singapore residents feel about these type of AI solutions. So would it be possible, Emmeline, to bring up the poll? Okay, so I'm not sure if everyone can see the poll. So the first question is, how comfortable are you with AI-driven experiences like personalized recommendations, chatbots, or AI-generated content in your e-commerce shopping? Like, are you comfortable with having AI-generated content and recommendations delivered to you? Does it make you a bit uncomfortable? It would be interesting to know. So feel free to go through the questions. Okay, let's see what everyone answered. Okay, so everyone is comfortable with AI-driven experiences. That's good. Comfortable, very comfortable. Have you ever made purchase based on recommendations? Interesting. So 48% of people say that they haven't made a purchase based on a recommendation generated by AI. So that means that AI is still not influential enough, to half of you guys to help to make you convert. Interesting. So for which idea, okay, virtual AI assistant seems to be good. Visual search as well. Okay, that's interesting. So Rakuten is developing visual search on its platform as well. So it's good to know that we're developing on the right lines. Okay. Do you trust the accuracy? So most people are neutral when it comes to trust. Okay. But as usual, most people are not willing to share more data with people. Okay. But it's good that everyone is optimistic towards AI. in their e-commerce experience. Personally, as an AI product manager, I think it will completely revolutionize e-commerce, and I think it will, make our experience much more easier, and it will help us discover more items. So similar to Spotify is one of my favorite examples, where Spotify personally helped me discover so many new songs and artists because of their algorithms. And I feel this type of experience in e-commerce will be similar, where we'll discover so many new categories of items and interests because of these virtual AI assistants and AI recommendations. So I think that's about it. So thank you so much for taking the poll, and we'll be happy to address any questions that you may have. Okay, so one person asked, what's the difference between a virtual assistant and generative AI? So that's a very good question. Virtual assistant is a use case where we can use generative AI to be an assistant, right? Be a virtual assistant. But generative AI is a technology in itself that is generating the next text or generating images or videos. So generative AI is a technology and virtual assistant is a use case. And generative AI technology like ChatGPT or image generation or video generation can be used to power virtual assistants. I think that's how the relationship between and the difference between virtual assistants and generative AI. So, okay, another user asked, what subtle uses of AI have you noticed in Singapore's daily life that regular people would easily miss? So, I think some of the cool things I've noticed through my experience is a lot of times there is in some places with Singapore pools where you can access pools, swimming pools in Singapore. They actually have automated computer vision drowning detection systems that can assist lifeguards in, identifying if someone is in distress or drowning. So I think this is a really cool use case. Another cool use case that I know of is sometimes, we walk on pavement, but then to get to a nearby destination, we'll walk over grass, right? So we'll skip the pavement and walk over grass because it's faster. So the government can sometimes detect when people have walked over grass because of the grass is, there's more, it's being stepped on, right? So using that footfall data, the government can actually recognize, actually, we should just build a path over here instead. And so they can, help citizens by developing pavements in areas that are not currently being developed. I think there's also drone programs that's pretty cool, where drones are being sent to administer medical aid or being sent with medical aid equipment in the event where, emergency responses like ambulance is taking too long, a drone can be sent. So there's many actually cool use cases, and you can check out a lot of them on the Smart Nation website. If you go, there's a lot of details on the individual use cases about AI. Okay. So the next question is, would generative AI recommendations lead to biases, and would this actually limit or narrow the choices for a customer? So I think this is another great question. And as with all machine learning systems, it works on the data that we train machine learning systems. So if our data is biased, then the recommendations would be biased. And so that's why with Smart Nation systems in general, if it's Singapore-based, or say for Rakuten, if we are developing AI recommendation systems, our teams do a lot of, vetting of data before we input them into machine learning models. So I think that's the way we can reduce bias. That's step one towards mitigation, is to ensure our database is, representative sample of the population. And so that's step one, is to mitigate the bias first. And if it is biased, then yes, it would limit, choices for a customer, because it would presume certain aspects about you. But yeah, I guess the strategy there is to mitigate the bias from even happening. And so there's a lot of effort being done, on user testing, and even before we roll out systems, to make sure that these systems are not biased at all. Yeah. All right, lots and lots of questions. Okay. Mm. Okay, this is a very interesting question. So what is a liability when AI makes a fault recommendation or makes a wrong recommendation? So what is a liability? That's the reason why machine learning systems should not be used in absolute life or death situations. And if they are being used in life or death situations, there should always be a human verification or human review process layer on top of the recommendation system. Because AI at the moment cannot be 100% correct, right? Any recommendation or any inference that any AI system makes cannot be 100% accurate, cannot be expected to be 100% accurate. And so there always needs to be a human layer to verify, to verify the decision that AI has come to. And so the liability then should probably lie with the human reviewer or the organization that is putting out these recommendations. But that's the reason we try not to use it in life or death situations. Okay. Can you share how, okay, so this is an interesting question. Can you share how successful merchants found Rakuten Merchant AI recommender or real-time feedback data you provided to them? How successful? I can't reveal too much details about how our merchants like these products, because a lot of our generative AI products, because a lot of them are still in testing mode and beta mode. But what I do know is that we are forecasting merchants that our recommendation systems or our generative AI systems will help merchants to reduce the time and effort it takes for them to list items and sell on e-commerce marketplaces. That's the whole idea behind the whole industry moving towards AI systems for merchants, is to basically simplify the merchant experience or the seller experience to encourage more people to list their products. So, and we see that during our user testing as well, that that it's intending to help merchants reduce their time and effort and costs and simplify their selling experience. So okay. So this is a very interesting question. Do you think it's feasible to expect AI algorithms to be explainable rather than being a black box? So some AI machine learning algorithms are explainable, especially supervised learning algorithms are explainable. We can see which data points and which features they use to come to an inferencing decision. However, unsupervised machine learning techniques, especially the ones that are being used for generative AI training or deep learning problems, they are black boxes, like you mentioned. So I think a lot of people are working on deciphering these unsupervised learning models and putting out they're building products that can help determine and establish which data points, which features are being used to make decisions. But I would relate it to humans, right? In your human brain, sometimes it's very difficult to, even for humans, to figure out what made a human brain come to a particular decision. So we can't even, answer questions regarding our own human brain. And machine learning systems are very similar in the way they function to a human brain, right? So I would say this is not just a problem with machine learning, but it's a problem with all intelligence systems in general. Sometimes it's difficult. I'm not sure if we'll ever be able to 100% decipher what data points are leading to decisions, especially with some unsupervised machine learning models and deep learning models. Yeah. But very interesting question. Okay. AI ethics. Okay, so this is a good question. Which companies are at the forefront of AI development and application in Singapore and SEA region? If you're talking about companies in SEA, so I think within this region, I'm usually, when I do competitor research, we usually monitor more Western companies in Europe and America. So I wouldn't be able to know at a company level. But if I move one level higher to country level, right, which countries are at the forefront of within the SEA region? I think Singapore is one of those countries through its Smart Nation program that's definitely at the forefront of developing AI. I think there's other countries in the region like Vietnam that have also joined the race or joined the initiatives on smart cities that are also developing some cool solutions over here. And I think other cities in the region, like within the Philippines, even India as well, that collects massive amounts of data. China obviously collects massive amounts of data, and they have very advanced machine learning capabilities and people working on machine learning. So I think these handful of countries you could see them start to build a smart city network in the future amongst each other and build closer ties. And I'm sure companies in these countries, in India, China, Singapore, Vietnam, Philippines, would be the ones who are leading AI development at a company level. Okay, I'll take a couple more questions because there's a lot. So I'm honored that there's a lot of very, very good questions. Can a metaverse mall take questions directly from virtual shoppers and generate answers with the use of generative AI? Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm also personally very interested to see the integration of AI into metaverse. I think there's huge opportunities. I think inside a metaverse, right, there's going to be people from all over the world. We can expect many machine translation systems to be incorporated into metaverse malls or metaverse systems. So everyone from no matter where they're from, they can communicate with each other, in real time in different languages without any issues. So machine translation is interesting. Generative AI, right? So you could, pay money or pay coins, pay your tokens, your crypto tokens inside a metaverse mall to create new land or create new houses over there. So I don't think generative AI should be limited to just virtual shopping. Of course, virtual shopping, you can, if I want something, I can tell a virtual assistant, then it will generate me a recommendation. But I think generative AI could have even bigger implications inside a metaverse environment where it's generating assets. So yeah, I'm excited to see the integration of AI into metaverse as well. Okay. Okay, so there's a question from Kingston International School. Thanks for asking the question. So what's your take on AI ethics? So as I mentioned, I think there was a question earlier on about, how could a biased AI system impact the recommendation results, right? And so this ties in very closely with AI ethics. And ethics, differ from country to country, differ from society to society. So I think it's very difficult to even agree on one standard definition of like one rule book of what AI ethics should be. If you observe the news lately, OpenAI CEO went to Congress and in the US went to Congress and actually asked them to set up a regulatory body that can monitor AI developments and ethics in AI. So I think when your leading AI companies are going to government and asking government to set up bodies for regulating, it shows you that the implications of ethics in AI is massive. I think what would be difficult to, everyone knows the standard, right? Like AI shouldn't be sexist, it shouldn't be racist, it should be equal to all, it shouldn't be classist, right? So I think what's interesting though is that it's very difficult to agree upon one standard set of rules, ethical rules for how AI should behave. So I think AI ethics is a nice ideal to reach. I wonder how and if and the extent to which we're going to reach AI ethics, but it's going to play a pivotal role in determining whether AI turns out to be benevolent. So whether it helps us make good decisions for our life, right? And whether it helps us develop good systems and helps us discover good discoveries, scientific discoveries, or whether because we couldn't agree on a standard set of AI ethics, whether the AI systems we develop turn malicious and they develop in our representation of ethics, right? Who knows, maybe humans, we don't have ethics all figured out yet. So should we even be training an AI on our flawed thinking of what ethics should be, right? Or should we let AI come to its own conclusion of what is ethical, what is unethical? So I think there's many things to be discussed when it comes to AI ethics. I think it's a good North Star and a good, thing to try and achieve. I wonder how we're going to achieve it in this fragmented world that we have. Also, I wonder whether we should be training it on ethics, or whether we should ask AI to come up with its own ethics first and then tune it to how we want it to be. Yeah, so that's another interesting thought, to have. But yeah, thanks for the question. Okay, last question. So let's pick a good one. Okay, this is a very good question. With AI, customers would be at the risk of not being able to differentiate reviews of products or sellers, whether they are real or not, right? So, and this could then affect their purchase decision. So again, I agree 100%, using AI, you can create an image, a completely fake image of your product that could be vastly different than what your product looks like in real life. We can also write keywords that produce fake descriptions, right? And do this at scale, right? So there's no limitation. You can create hundreds of images in a second or hundreds of descriptions in a second, post them on different marketplaces, and begin selling fake products, right? So definitely there is that danger, and that's why I think there needs to be a human verification layer. So e-commerce marketplaces need to still vet each listing that comes out, right? There still needs to be a verification process that this image that AI has generated is actually representative of the product in real life that is being sold. So these type of systems and verifications still need to be done. And that's as a product manager, I see that as an opportunity to develop systems that can verify whether AI generated image is representative of a real product or not, right? So I think that's a product problem that we can solve. And it needs to be done in order to protect consumers from buying fake or bad products, right? Or not real products. Yeah. So I think that's the what I would say over there. We need to develop the verification process over there. So thank you so much for the question. There's still a lot of questions. not sure if I have the time to cover them all, but thank you so much for watching and listening and asking your questions. And I hope you had fun. So if you would like, feel free to add me on LinkedIn. If I couldn't get to your answer, please feel free to add me on LinkedIn. I'll try and answer it over there. And yeah, thank you very much. Thanks to the Smart Nation team as well.